All right, guys, well, we have to talk about Tesla's advertising, and I'll be honest with you guys and up front, I don't think my take is going to make a lot of people happy. So I will give you the two massive problems that I see with advertising for Tesla, and then I'll kind of tell you what I think advertising is actually going to do for Tesla, and it's something that I haven't heard anybody talk about at all, so we're going to talk about it today. I just ask in exchange for you to gently tap that like button and consider subscribing too. It's super easy to do if you like the truth without the hype. And don't forget the Memorial Day sale is live for my private group where you get all my buy and sell alerts in real time. You get my watch list with price targets. You get 5 courses for free, tons of exclusive videos, access to the best Discord, access to me through my DMs. You can jump on our live Q&As. And we got a stock analyzer tool coming for you that will be completely free for members. So make sure you check out the pinned comment down there and see everything that's included before that sale ends. So the first massive problem for Tesla advertising would be that the bears will say that it proves that there is a demand problem. Hey, I got it. I know that there's not. I'm not the one saying this, but I'm telling you right now, the bears are going to say, why advertise if you can sell every car that you have? Why do you need to all of a sudden advertise unless you have a demand problem? What's going on there exactly? They said the same thing whenever they cut the price of the cars, which I agree. That was a play on market share, not a play on anything else. It wasn't a demand issue. It wasn't anything else like that. I agree. However, that doesn't mean that bear narrative will now have some credence to the actual narrative. And remember, guys, not everybody is sold on Tesla. Not everybody thinks it's the greatest thing ever. Not everybody sees the vision and what's going on there. There are a lot of people who are still unsure, and it's not a small amount of people, guys. It's a lot of people, and especially large investors, still have a lot of problems with Tesla or don't see the quite vision that's there. And this is going to be another one of those things to where people are going to start to project out, ooh, they're doing a little bit of advertising, must have a demand problem, which means they're going to need to advertise more in order to sell cars. And then they'll start projecting advertising numbers into the future that may or may not be true on what Tesla spends at all on advertising, but that's irrelevant at this stage. What it does do is it does, those bears out there, remember, if you're undecided on a stock, the prudent thing to do would be to listen to the bear case and the bull case, right? Now, not Gordon Johnson bear case, but a reasonable bear case and a reasonable bull case. So when you do look at those two, this lends some credence to that bear case, to some of the narratives that are there to where, in the past you could say, hey, I think they got demand problems. I don't think their demand's going to be there. And then it was easy for the bulls to refute that and say, well, they sell every car that they have. That's not a problem. But again, you doing all that without advertising, now all of a sudden you're starting to advertise. You don't advertise for no reason. And somebody who doesn't follow the story well, and somebody who's not going to watch the investor presentation, and we can argue whether you should or you shouldn't. I think you should as a shareholder. However, institutional investors aren't going to do things like that. They're not going to sit through an annual meeting. They're not going to do some of those pieces of the pie in regards to due diligence that I think are important. They're not going to do that. So they're not going to hear the actual reasoning behind it, the reason why the question came up, anything else like that. We are, right here in our YouTube community, obviously. But in regards to those larger Wall Street folks, they're not doing that. So they don't understand the difference between that. And therefore, it makes that bear case stronger. That's no longer just a bear saying something, trying to keep it down. It lends some credence to that argument. I mean, I guess Tesla could do some sort of a EV education day or something like that and really try to promote it that way. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to kind of make this happen that maybe will make it seem like less advertising. But if they go kind of down, not necessarily traditional advertising route, but down a normal advertising route of some sort in regards to Tesla, that will, it makes business sense to say you wouldn't advertise if there wasn't a demand issue or, something else going on there. Not that there's a demand issue to where nobody wants your car. That's where the bears will take it to the extreme, but just, hey, definitely you're not carrying the same momentum that you were before. Therefore, you got to spend money on advertising in order to do that. It makes business sense, even though that's not the actual reality of why he's trying to do it. That will get lost. The reason why will get lost in the actual discussion and narrative around it. So that's the first reason that I think that advertising is, not necessarily going to be the best thing for Tesla moving forward. The second massive problem that I see is something for us retail investors, and that is that the bulls are going to go wild with saying that something along the lines of, this is going to 10x Tesla stock from here. It's just incredible, the most amazing thing ever, that they're turning it into this, and I'm not saying it's not good. Please don't take it that way. But the bulls tend to take anything that happens into somehow translating, no matter what it is, into this huge catalyst for the stock. And you should expect a huge run coming shortly, or whatever the narrative ends up being. You hear it all the time. Full self-driving beta, which there seems to be a new beta, twice a year or so, whatever the number is. It's not a catalyst for the stock price. I'm sorry. until it is actually generating, consistent revenue, it's not a catalyst for the stock price. Is it great? Is it great to see them moving forward? Is it great to see it getting better each time around? Yes, absolutely. Will it pay off long term whenever it's all done, all of it's been approved, all those other things like that have all happened, and it's actually out there generating revenue? Yes, absolutely. But until then, a beta version of anything provides absolutely no revenue, no, earnings, no nothing to the bottom line whatsoever. So it is not a catalyst for the stock. Elon flushing the toilet is not a catalyst for the stock, guys. And neither is advertising when you sell every single car that you produce anyways. It's not going to be a huge catalyst for the stock. I'm sorry. Did it 10x revenue? Did it 10x the EPS? If the answer to that is no, how the heck is the stock going to 10x? It's not going to 10x based upon the advertising. So the bulls, in a lot of cases, now it's not all of them, it's not everyone, but that's one of the dangers with the narrative is you will have enough bulls out there saying things like that all of a sudden you start to, now right now Tesla to me is still undervalued, but you will start to see people overpaying for Tesla again, or buying with the expectation that, oh my gosh, this is going to 10x the stock. It should happen here shortly or in the next 6 months or in the next year. Maybe not a 10x, but the stock should double up. And then when it doesn't, they're frustrated and they're mad and they're upset and they don't understand. And then they go down the narrative of it's just Wall Street holding back Tesla or Wall Street hates Elon or whatever the case is, and nothing could be further from the truth. Your expectation to begin with was flawed because this advertising does not add a 10x multiplier to the stock. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. I agree, it provides benefits, some huge benefits that we'll talk about here in just a minute, but that does not mean it's going to immediately 10x the revenue or the EPS or whatever the case is out there. So please keep that in mind. Please remember things like that as you start to hear the bull narratives. That's one of the problems is the bull narratives go way over the top one way. And then now we have on the flip side of that, the bears are going to actually have a little bit of credence to their argument. Now, it's not a lot in the overall big picture, but it does lend some credence to their argument, even if it's misguided. Some folks, especially, and I'm thinking large, big money here, and we can talk about us getting excited all we want as retail, but the big money is going to be the one that's going to push Tesla to the $2 trillion, $3 trillion mark and beyond. It requires the big money. It's not going to be retail pushing the stock to there. So what is my take on the advertising? I mean, obviously, you guys can see that I'm not necessarily super bullish on it. Obviously, I'm not bearish on it. But what is my take on this? I do think there's an impact here. I just don't think it's in either one of those two camps. So when I look at advertising and I look at advertising for Tesla, I don't think it pays us anything this year. I also don't think it pays us anything next year. And probably the year after that, if I'm being completely honest. To me, you are advertising now to turn people on to EVs over the long run. I'm sorry, all the stuff that's out there about EVs, the what if I can't find a charger? What if I can't find the range? They're hard to work on. They don't work, all those things that were probably true 10 years ago, absolutely were true 10 years ago, that aren't true now with a Tesla. Those folks that are hanging on to those narratives, their minds are hard to change. It's not something that's going to happen overnight, and they're not going to just watch a quick YouTube video and go, that's it. Now I'm all on board on Tesla. I got it. I get it. That's not how this is going to work in regards to flipping that narrative. Remember, they sell every car they need to sell. So doing it right now isn't going to help sales or anything in the interim. To me, the benefit, the value in advertising is not about trying to sell cars. It's about educating the consumer about how the EVs really are the future. And all those folks, I mean, we like to think because we're kind of in the Tesla community per se. I mean, we're kind of hip to it, whatever. I don't know what the words are. The point being, all of us that are kind of engaged in this community have an idea, and we don't need to be convinced that, hey, wait, it's a lot less maintenance. They are a lot more reliable. You don't need to worry about finding a charger. Sure, there's certain areas, sure, there's certain lags, but it's not much, not a reason to not go that route. There are so many positives. They're far more reliable than they were before. All the other positives that are there, they're not going to catch fire. Other cars catch fire all the time, but the moment a Tesla catches fire, it's a headline news and every news station's carrying it everywhere. We know that all those sort of things aren't true, but we are a minority in regards to the majority that do not think that way, at least here in the US. I can't speak to other countries, but at least here in the US, that's, very, very much, we're a very small portion of the overall consumer. So you have to educate those consumers. And if you think big auto, legacy auto is going to help with that messaging, they're not, because their bread and butter is the gas combustion car in the first place. And they're losing money on their EV. So if this whole EV thing just kind of went away tomorrow, they would be very, very happy, obviously. But since it's not going to go away tomorrow, and since they're not going to really help Elon get there and really push out the message about EVs in general, and actually, I'm sure they're trying to compete, but actually being able to actually compete, it's going to be up to Tesla to educate the vast majority of consumers out there that have a lot of misconceptions. And to me, that does not happen overnight. And it's not necessarily going to be the cheapest thing either also. And that's something else I think we got to keep in mind is when you go to advertise, if you're trying to advertise to the average person who's really, at least in my line of work and where I have experienced the most pushback on Teslas, they tend to be, you know, a demographic that's not necessarily going to be watching a YouTube video. They're not going to catch it on a reel on Instagram. That's not going to be the person that you're trying to capture and change their mind. You're going to have to catch them through TV. You're going to have to catch them through traditional media and a lot of other things like that. And that is expensive and it's not as easy as you think. So they don't need to educate us. And those of us folks that are engaged in this sort of stuff, they've got to educate those other people. And unfortunately, it's going to be expensive and it's going to take time to change their minds. It may take some of the other auto players to help out a little bit to change those minds. Will we get there? Of course we will. I just don't think it's going to be, the payoff is not going to be now. The payoff is going to be years in advance. And I don't think there's a way to measure what the payoff will be. The payoff will be that the EVs truly are the future and Tesla is, you know, the number one automaker here in the US or something like that. That's going to be the payoff. And this will just be one component, one piece of a lot of different pieces that gets Tesla there. So it's not the main driver. It's just a piece of the pie that I think absolutely will help. I just don't think we're going to see the payoffs right now. And we're going to have to work through a lot of the sludge in between to get there. And don't forget the Memorial Day sale for my group is in the pinned comment below where you get 5 free courses. You get all my buy and sell alerts in real time, which of course sometimes include Tesla, especially when it was down around $100 or so. I couldn't buy enough of it. You get access to my watch list with price targets, the best Discord out there. You got access to me. You can slide into my DMs, talk to me on our Q&As that we do every week. Just a ton of information. Oh yeah, and we got a stock analyzer coming. So, and that'll be free to members. So make sure you lock in your membership. The price is right now because that price will go up. So check out the pinned comment down there and see if it's right for you. And click this video here if you want to see exactly what I'm buying in this market. And click here to see exactly what my plan is for this market. So thanks for watching and we'll see you in the next one.